All right, third garden tour of 2023. We're starting here with the pink lemonade blueberries, which we can see they're starting to change color. So hopefully soon we'll get some blueberries. Um, this dahlia has definitely been through a lot. This kind of discoloration's been happening on a lot of the plants. Not sure what it is, but for this dahlia, I think I'm going to cut it back so it can kind of just relax in the heat and then hopefully do something else later on in the fall when we cool down a little bit. And then this is another blueberry, which this job is just to grow because I tried to lift the plant up. Even now you can see it's sunk quite a bit. Tried to lift it, and in doing so I killed a good chunk of the plant because this one actually was much larger and blooming and producing every year. It was great, and that was kind of an oopsie on my part, so I added a new one in there, and I just want this one to fill out this year. Over here we have the fig, which is looking really good, doing great. No figs on it yet though. And then in this first new bed we have sweet potatoes and Jamaican sorrel or hibiscus. So the sorrel is back here. That one's being overrun by a sweet potato. But sorrel. It's doing okay. And then these are the sweet potatoes. So I have 3 different types. There is a Japanese sweet potato, a purple sweet potato, and our regular traditional orange sweet potato. They're all kind of mixed in here, no labels, everything just running wild. When it's ready to harvest, that's when I'll figure out where everything is and who did what, who did the best. That one out there, I've tried to kind of redirect it back into the bed, but it started to root out there, so I don't want to pull it up. If it forms potatoes out there, I can still pick them out there. And the next new bed, the flowers are doing pretty well in here. We have a coreopsis right there. We have the gomphrena, a pink calendula, a castor bean. This is a Scotch bonnet. That cornflower is kind of done. This is a purple tomatillo, which it's been through a lot. Something happened to it. It dropped all its leaves. It's regrown all the leaves, but they still look kind of like they're struggling a little bit in there. So we'll see kind of how it does. And that's a zinnia, which is doing well over there. We have scallion in the middle, another zinnia there. And then this castor bean is kind of doing what I thought they all would do, just get really big, and they were supposed to get big, provide shade for everything else, but they've kind of stayed small until now. We have a purple basil there. This is a shishito pepper here. I almost skipped over our little hollyhock there. We have a little serrano, struggling but still alive. Another scallion. This is another zinnia. There you go. This is a hot pepper that was just like a surprise, or like an extra pepper in my seed pack. I think it's called a datil pepper. Never had it before. That's another Scotch bonnet, which before I've been out of town. Before I went out of town, it had peppers on it, like flowers, but now I don't see anything, which is fine. It just needs to grow, but definitely looks like something's been eating its leaves. This Canadian sunflower is very much done. It needs to go. And then look at this hollyhock, which is doing way better than I thought they would in the heat. I expected like that first one that we saw, but this one's doing really, really well. Here's a cornflower that's fallen over, getting ready to bloom though. Another castor bean, and that's the stuff that they make castor oil from, but it is also semi-toxic. People have allergic reactions to it, at least to the plant itself and to the beans. Here's a straw flower. You can see things are kind of windswept into that direction. We have a Spanish lavender here, gomphrena, and our African marigold, shining. These need to be deadheaded and cut back. We have the pincushion or scarbosa, which hasn't done anything for me yet. Really just I expected it in the spring. This is the status, which is doing well. I'm going to cut these back too. Another pincushion here. Another status, pincushion, and status. Doing well. And then here in the middle, we have the healthier of the two purple tomatillos, because you need to for them to pollinate. So I'm really, really hoping that other one holds on, because I need it for this one to produce fruit. We have some basil there, another gomphrena. This was the China aster, but its season is done. All right, let's move on to the next bed. But actually, before we do, let's look here. This is a Barbados cherry, and next to it is a guava. So neither one of these really survive here in my area, but they were both on clearance at Lowe's, so I was like, I'm gonna give it a try. Just keep them in a pot and then try and move them indoors when it gets cold. Especially the cherry. I love this cherry, so I really would love to get some fruit from both of these actually. And if we come over here, we have our eucalyptus, which is doing really well. And then here is the garlic. And I dug one up because I really should have harvested these before I went out of town. And so it was pretty dead there and not really much above ground. But when I dug in there, I found some garlic. So I don't know that this will do well to store. It doesn't really look like it has much of a skin on it, but I'll be cooking with this probably later today. So before I dug it up, it just looks like this one, like not much there at all. And I do think this year I planted the garlic too deep, and so lessons learned for next year. And then in this bed, which formerly was bed number 1, we have the Mexican sunflowers, huge, but also affected by something. It's done some damage to it. So I'm not quite sure if I should just let it go or if I should cut it down or what I should do. Still thinking about that right now. We have blue sage here, which is doing very well. It's really enjoying the weather and its position and everything. And then we have carrots that also needed to be pulled. Look at that tiny little cute carrot. And there are potatoes here in the middle that I for sure should have pulled before I left, because at this point the plant itself isn't even there. I don't even know if I could do some digging and if we'll find a potato. Yep, there's a potato. So I'm really gonna have to get digging in here and get all these potatoes out of there. We got some more zinnias there. Lots of mint in this bed. This is basically the mint bed. Let's come around though, see what else we can find in here. I have a little gomphrena there hiding, and some cosmos. And then we have this bean. So this bean is meant to be climbing on the trellis, which I guess it made it over there eventually. Here it is. But it just took a little divergence into the mint. And then on the other side, we're actually producing beans. Here they are. And so it's climbed on this side and producing beans. This weed, I need to cut it away. It needs to go. And then over here, while I've been gone, like this cucumber has really skyrocketed. This one I feel bad because it broke, so I'm not sure it's gonna do much more after that. I think this was the leader, but maybe we'll get lucky and this becomes a leader. But then on this side, it's done really, really well. Look at it go. Even in the 2 days since I've been back, it's gone from about here all the way up to there. So that's fantastic. That's exactly what I wanted to do, was just cover this whole trellis. And look, we have little cucumbers. Hopefully they get pollinated. And then down here we have the radishes, which are beyond done. Let's see. There's a radish. Probably not the shape it's supposed to be, but there's a radish there. We also had, so that's a Korean radish. On this side we had a daikon radish. Let's see. Nope, that just broke. Yeah, so the daikons didn't really do very much before they went straight to seed. This is a calendula here and a zinnia, which I have a feeling the zinnia is self-seeded there. And then back here we have grapes, which are also doing really, really well. So I want the grape to take over this trellis, and then I also want the cucumber on this trellis, and then this weed needs to go. We move to the other side of this bed. This was the white marigold here. Oops. And then we have a Scotch bonnet pepper here. This pepper in the front. This is the Turkish sweet pepper. It's like a sweet bell pepper. This is a jalapeno that's been basically blown over. Or wait, nope, not a jalapeno. See, this is why we should work on labeling. The jalapeno is here and it's fallen into this other pepper that I don't have labeled. That will be a surprise. Here's another zinnia. All of these weeds need to go. Here is a huckleberry that something has happened to it, just like the other things I was kind of talking about with their leaves, and they're starting to ripen up. There's one there that's ripe, and we have a couple more back there that are ripe. And we have another basil plant here. I'm going to be making basil lemonade later today. We have another Scotch bonnet under that. This one is a bell pepper up there. It's an African marigold. Another bell pepper here. A little strawberry hiding back there that's still alive, and I'm shocked. And there's some flowers hidden under here too. A calendula. Oh, look right there. It's a calendula. And yeah, that's about it for this bed. We move on to the next bed. We have calendula here. That's an eggplant. We have a jalapeno. So peppers were like, we really need to be harvested. We have a zinnia there. A limb from a storm that happened while I was gone. This is a Swiss chard here, Swiss chard there, with the scallion and basil, and back in this corner actually. Right there we have lemongrass or fever grass, and we have Cuban oregano or coulis thyme. All right. Let's look over here at the wildflower area. It just looks windswept. Everything is windswept. This, I'm pretty sure, is just a weed, which, I mean, a weed is just a plant in the wrong place. Definitely in the wrong place, but I mean, it's a pretty bloom. All of this area isn't really doing much right now. I did see a couple actual wildflowers that I wanted pop up in here. They were more over in this area. That one right there. Another one hidden over there. And then they're down here. So kind of this one area did really well with the wildflower seeds that I wanted, whereas everything else has pretty much majority of the weeds that were already here before I threw down the wildflower seeds. This middle area, which is supposed to be all perennials that really don't need any attention from me, is doing really well over here. And this was also where I was keeping my my sweet potatoes while I grew them on, and you can see they're still doing well over here. and probably forming sweet potatoes over here. So I'll probably be digging up this area too for sweet potatoes. At this point, I don't think it would be a good idea to cut and move them. I'm just gonna leave them, let them do what they want to do over there. And then for more blooms, we got some blooms over here too, which is fantastic. All right, let's move on to the other side of the garden. All right, this is a straw flower that never really did well. This is a leek that definitely is beyond its time, so I was just letting it flower, and I was going to collect seeds and try and grow leeks again. I never really used it, but I was like, worth a shot to try. We have the onions, which are also done and ready to come out. So I'm going to be pulling all of those. I don't think I got a full like onion head, but I do have all of those. Lots of them went to flower, as we can see there. We have the blackberry that's doing really great. Look at that blackberry. And we have the stalk, which is doing well. Strawberry hiding down here. Another strawberry back there. I'm just shocked that I still have strawberries alive at this point. We have a yarrow there. And then these onions, I think I might leave these guys a little bit longer. They seem to be kind of okay. These that have flopped over are definitely gonna get harvested. If we go on to the next one, we have our Korean mint here. She's doing well. We have our snapdragons, which are actually from last year but overwintered. We have basil, more coreopsis. This is again that China aster, which is basically done. More basil back there. There's still tomatoes surviving here, and there were a couple on the other side under the blackberry, but they didn't have a good year, so I'm not expecting much from them. Here's a huckleberry, another huckleberry, and this one actually lost all its leaves and regrew. So I'm just letting it do its thing. This is another pepper plant that I did not mark, so I don't know what type of pepper it is. There are watermelon in here. That one I direct sowed. This one I transplanted. It's a Gomphrena, which looks like there's a volunteer zinnia next to it. And this is a papaya. Also doesn't really grow in this area, but it was on sale at Lowe's, so I was gonna give it a try. And another zinnia. This zinnia also self-sowed. Come to this side, another self-sown zinnia from last year's. More coreopsis here. Another snapdragon. Have some basil there in the middle. Basil and basil. And then this is a dahlia. More stalk here. I really like this color. More calendula. And this is the Italian dandelion or chicory. And there's its bloom. The blooms are also edible. And I thought it was dead. Like, I didn't particularly want it. I didn't try and plant it, but it came back from last year. And then it did okay, but then really quickly it bolted. I'm kind of surprised at how quickly it bolted. And then this is a shishito with shishitos on it. There you go, those are gonna get picked. And this is a rose, trying to get it to climb all the way up here and then basically cover the clothesline in flowers. Down here we have another huckleberry. I have a lot of huckleberries for somebody who doesn't actually know what to do with them, with the huckleberry fruit itself, but we'll find out. And then this is another not Coreopsis, Scarbosa or pincushion that didn't really do anything. And this looks like a volunteer sweet alyssum from last year. So that is basically it for the 4th garden tour of 2024.